I'm Russ, and this is my Raid Shadow Legends video. Hey guys, today I'm back in my free-to-play account. My last video I made for this account was day 170. I'm on now day 190, and I'll put the link below for that first video. This is kind of unique in my free-to-play in the fact that I'm only using my starter champion, farmable champions, and just my daily login champions. Part of that is to see just how far can you really progress through the game without pulling champions, and again, to give a guide on how to beat certain parts of the game when I don't have the random champions that you might have, or I might pull ones that you don't have. So kind of a challenge for myself, and just kind of a way to progress through the game with champions I know everybody has. In that first video, I did go over my first three kind of main important points when it comes to starting a account, especially if it's free to play. Just kind of my pointer and points and guides to starting an account. Today, I'm going to do three more. So I guess number 4, 5, and 6, kind of what you should really focus on in the game, that you want to be doing each day or working on to really help you progress through. I also mentioned in my first video on my free-to-play account that I would be getting Syl, because that was day 170 that I made that last video. 180 has passed, is the day you get Syl the Drakes. I'm on day 190, so I've had 10 days to fully make her to level 60, ascend her, and I'll go through her build here in a little bit, and I was also going to show how she's helped me in the game and how much farther in the game I've been able to get because of her. But with that said, let's first dive into point number 4, or guide number 4 of my free-to-play kind of series I'll do on progressing through the game. So point number 4, your Guardian Ring. When it comes to your champions, you want your champions to be as strong as possible, and something that you need to be focusing on is your faction guardians. So your faction guardians are for whatever faction you have, to boost that faction and a specific rarity of champion. You want to get dupes of those champions. So as you have duplicates, and again, if you're a free-to-play or low spender and you're newer to playing this game, even if you've been playing for even a while, rares are such important parts of the game. And here's a way to get just free stats for your champions. It is same thing with epics and legendaries. As a free-to-play account, it's going to be really hard to get these. I mean, it's going to take a long time, especially being a free-to-play, especially someone who hasn't pulled any shards. So where I farm, so this is why farming is so important, farm where you can get duplicate, or you can get rare champions and get a bunch of dupes, so that maybe you don't use it. I do use, I can't think of her name, not Demitha. I can't think of her name, Diabolus. So I do use one Diabolus, but like, her stats are increased. Her health is 10%, attacks 10%, accuracy, resistance is 7 each, defense is 10, and speed is 3, because I've farmed in campaign. Here's somewhere where I've only more recently, I don't use Spirit Host anywhere, but she's a farmable champion, and she's only making my Kayle, who's my like go-to nuker champion, stronger, and I should be and need to be, and I'd say you as well, be farming everywhere in campaign so that you can make your champions as strong as possible. Each area has its rare champions. Find out what faction they are, and you should just be farming and farming and farming until you get those champions. Get your dupes and get your extra free stats for your rare champions in your faction guardians. Okay, number 5, point or guide number 5. So I mentioned that you have all these duplicate rare champions. Well, as you build these duplicate rare, or as you have these duplicate rare champions, you're going to be in your faction crypts. And I would say the best thing to do is, as you have all these duplicates, is you should be, which I haven't done for this one so much, but these champions that you have so many dupes of, you should be using them in your faction crypts. Again, stats. You want to get your stats as high as possible on your champions. A great way to get your stats up is through glyphs. And the farther you are in your faction crypt, the better the glyphs you get. Let's see which one this is. This is one, again, great example. I have not done a good job of the Lizardmen in the campaign having duplicates. I should have at least 5 Lizardmen, and I would recommend at least making them level 30, ascending them because it's cheap to ascend rares, and give them not your best gear, because you don't want to have to be removing it later, but also not your worst gear, because you want to give them survivability. The whole point, let's go to like these champions. A great example, so here we go. Skullhorn, like I just got level 8 gear, but lifesteal to keep them alive. Greybeard is recently, because this was the last faction that was just opened. I fully upgraded a couple Greybeards. I've got them ascended. I've got some survivability. But they're just extra champions. These are just 2 extra champions in that crypt to help me have 5 total champions. They're strong enough to have some survivability to do some damage. Greybeard's actually someone that is, I would say, worth upgrading even to a level 40, maybe possibly a level 50, especially in a free-to-play account. But that's for you. Like, decide what champions are worth. You don't want to waste resources in putting champions to level 40 and 50 if they're not viable, they're not worth it. But there's some decent, good, rare champions that you can put to level 30, ascend, like I said, and you should be using them in those faction crypts. Like, now that the Lizardmen's open, I'm going to be campaigning a bunch for this next day to get as many rare, both of these guys. I don't know their names off the top of my head, but I'm going to get another one of them, and I'm going to send them and make sure they're have gear and stuff so that there's some survivability. All my goal is right now is to get as far down here as possible so that every time this crypt opens, I can farm it really quickly and hopefully get some level 2 glyphs. Hopefully, maybe if I can get to here, get some 3 glyphs, because again, in a free-to-play account, I don't have a ton of glyphs and they're kind of hard to come by. But you should be farming champions, you should have a bunch of dupes, and you should build them out enough to where you can you should be getting at least in that 1 to 3 category of glyphs to really help your main champions you use everywhere just have stronger gear and accessories. Okay, today, sixth point, last view, or kind of guideline thing for a account. If you don't know this already, it's kind of, hopefully people already know this, but again, if you're new and you don't know the importance of it, you want to get as far in Minotaur Lair as possible. Stage 15, you want to be able to farm this easily, win every time, and it's because your masteries. If you don't know what masteries are, which we're about to go into still anyways, masteries are free, not just stats. I mean, there are some stats like max health, defense, but some of this stuff is just like increase the value of your heal. This stuff is game changing for your champions, and you should be farming Minotaur all the time. Like, you should be in campaign, get those dupe champions, get some experience for your champions, get silver, but make sure you are in here maxing out the masteries of your champions, because the difference between a champion with 0 masteries and having all these extra abilities, it makes a huge difference. Again, you need every little bit of advantage you can get to get through this game, to get through content. And having their masteries maxed out is super important. So yeah, all my main champions I use are just about maxed or pretty close to maxed when it comes to their masteries. This is something really important. Make sure you're not skipping that. Make sure you're focusing daily to get into the Minotaur lair, max out your main champions you're using, and even like I mentioned, these rare champions, I wouldn't focus too much of your resources for masteries, but just to get extra health, extra defense, extra attack if they're attack base, or crit rate, crit damage, just those few little stats are really important. So make sure you're doing that. It's going to make a big difference in the game. Okay, last part, I told you I finally got Syl the Drakes. Level 61 Ascension I saved. When you first log in with the new Awakening, you got some free Awakening. I don't remember exactly what they gave us, but I was able to buy one. I think, yeah, that's what I was able to get 20. And when Syl came up, I bought it because I knew Syl, guaranteed champion. It was really important to have an Awakening on her. But to go through her kit really quick, 32,000 health, attack's really low, attack's not important, defense 3,100. It's pretty decent defense, especially since her attack's based on defense. Speed is really low. That's just based on the stun set I have on her. I don't have the best stun stuff. I was able to get her to 100% crit rate. I could sacrifice crit rate and crit damage for more speed, which might be smart. I'll dive more into her kit and why that is. And then accuracy, I really focus because I want to make sure I get those stuns off. So it's kind of unique on how you can build her. Depending, so I did go support and defense. I did focus on healing over accuracy. And then just for this is pretty standard defense. Trying to get down here. Cycle of Revenge. And I believe on my main account, I went down to Fearsome Presence. Maybe not. I forget which one I went down to. But anyways, I'm going to probably go down to Eagle Eye on this account because I want that extra accuracy for the stun. So she's a heal and a stun. So control and healing, which I only gave her the crit rate and crit damage because I didn't go down this side. So I gave her the ability to do some damage. I would recommend, one thing I like to do when it comes to masteries or builds is find some of the main content creators. I would say Chosen, Hell Hades, Ash. I would look at the way they build champions, just overall, everything about them, their masteries, their gear, what they're doing, and just kind of see and compare how close they are or how far away they are with how they build champions. And then again, you can always build champions also depending on what, like Syl, I would say as a support champion, I would focus on defense and support. But if you have a good example is if you have a Vogoth. I can go to Vogoth really quick. It's a complete tangent. Hopefully it helps as you build your champions. Vogoth is undead probably. If you've pulled a Vogoth who has a provoke, so he's HP based, Syl is defense based. Provoke, so he has a control. His passive also heals 25% or heals allies 50% of the damage received. A great healer and has a provoke. So control and heal. And then for Syl, very similar in the fact that she has a stun, which is a control, and she has a passive, which is heals 10% of their max HP, also has a revive. So if I had both of those champions, I would focus really hard on one of them with the healing aspect. Well, a way to think of it is you could focus really hard on Vogoth's healing and go down the healing tree, healing side of the HP. So go down this side like I did with Syl. And then with my Syl, I would go down maybe accuracy. So make her really the control and maybe lean control with damage. And with Vogoth, I would go healing with the defense. So kind of balance each other out. You can also go both in the same direction. You can make them both attack base and healers, or both control if you really want to double up on the control aspect of it. But again, that's why you shouldn't just copy other people's builds and stuff, because it matters what team you have. Again, if I had a Vogoth, they kind of are similar in their skill set and what they can do. So I might not make them identical in the way I build them out. Because I have one, I might build the other one very differently. So again, don't copy masteries. Make sure you understand your team's dynamics. Really quick, cover just how she's been able to change the game. I was on Keep 16 before I acquired her, and she's allowed me to auto 20, the final stage, no problem. This is my team that I use. So I do use Valerie and her for extra survivability. As for Minotaur, I think last time before her, I was at 14. 15, I could win, but it wasn't always guaranteed. Now I can auto it, no problem. This one I don't even need Valerie. I do have Valerie. I have Kale as my lead. But I've got drop defense, some nukers, and then 2 healers. So it helped me max that out. Ice Golem, I moved 1 spot. I went from 13 to 14 on auto. Spider, again, went 1 spot from 10 to 11. So able to go 1 spot. Fire Knight, I was able to go, again, 1 spot from 11 to 12. And then Dragon. Again, it's the same team in all of them. Dragon, I was actually able to go from 15 on auto to 17. Same team in all my battles, but she's helped me progress. Again, my champions all aren't maxed out. I don't have their masteries finished. Can still add some glyphs. So this team isn't quite as strong as it could be yet. I mean, I still have 2 of my champions that can be level 60. But yeah, that ability, that's my biggest problem, I think, is not having level 60s. But Syl has helped me in every single dungeon progress at least 1 or 2 spots. Again, some of these areas, you need a multi-hit champion. For Fire Knight, you need mostly pretty much Syl's great, but you need a HP burn champion, really, that helps to get through spiders. Ice Golem, maybe a block revive. Just don't have the champions yet. But Dragon hopefully will continue to progress. But yeah, that's my free-to-play account, guys. Still waiting to pull shards. I haven't pulled any shards besides mystery shards in this account. So I'm going to continue just kind of chugging along with the champions that are given to you, and hopefully to give you some insight and just kind of what I've done and what's worked for me. So yeah, hope you guys are having fun playing the game, and until next time, see ya.